from Studio Drew. I want to do a quick video this morning since I have some natural light before it starts raining again. Today's project, something I think is relatively simple and fun. You can completely upgrade or recycle packaging by using decoupage. Decoupage is the art of cutting out and using paper and using it in layers or even single layer to repurpose or decorate a plain or simple item. So what I did is I got a beautiful box of chocolates. Well, I didn't receive it, my roommate did. And he's the type of person that throws everything away, and I'm not. Now, this was a Godiva packaging, and it was in this gold color, and the lid was in sort of a brownish gold color. And to save time during our rainy day yesterday and the day before, I've already pre-painted it. But I pre-painted it because the papers that I'm using are this really pretty spring garden, and I'll show you the paper pack. This is a pack of scrapbooking paper I got at my local craft store, and if you see on the front, it shows you all the different papers that are included in the pack. This is probably the best value if you're doing a decoupage project, because obviously all of the papers coordinate very well, so you don't have to go outside. Unfortunately, I did have to go to a separate book to find my solid color, because I had already used some of the best papers out of that for other projects. So, but I chose this rose garden. We're going to use this around the outer edge. I've also pre-cut all the pieces because it's been so rainy. Without the natural light to enhance the videos, I figured it would probably be better to be prepared and make it a short video. You see that we're going to use this paper. Now, the paper isn't wide enough to go all the way around, so I did have to cut 3 panels, and I will tell you how I'm going to hide the seam in a minute. I'm going to use this color for the top. I wasn't prepared. This is very spontaneous. Oh my god, there's natural light. I gotta work at 12. Let's hurry up and do this. So, this is the lid. And I'm using my laptop so that I can keep my phone available for work appointments. It fits nice and snug, very clean and neat. We're going to use this pink paper for the lid, and then I do have strips of the same paper that we're going to use to go around the outer edge. So, and then there's lots of fun little cutouts that were included in this paper pack that we will use to decorate the top further and to hide the seams around the edges. You are going to need, for this particular project, I already showed you the paper pack, scissors. These are my fabric scissors, but I guess I'll just buy a new pair of fabric scissors and keep these for paper crafting. You need a paintbrush. Some people like the foamy ones. I like the traditional old-fashioned paintbrush. However, for this, the foamy brush might be nicer to keep a nice even layer. You're going to need Mod Podge. If you're not sure what Mod Podge is, it is a water-based paper glue. This particular one here is the one we're going to use today. It's a water-based sealer, glue, and finish. This will be what we glue the paper down with, and also what we seal it over top with. So this is just a 4-ounce one-time project size. If you are doing a bigger project, then you would want the larger size. This is the 8-ounce. This one particular is a satin finish. It also comes in a antique matte, which I have used for past projects. It comes. This is the size of this. There's not much left in it, but I pulled it out for example. Then this is the gloss. So the project you're working on, you want to have a really glossy finish, then you do this. We want a satin or a matte, so this is the matte. We're going to use that, and I have the gloss if I want to make it shiny when I'm done. And then, as I've shown you in previous videos, this is the puzzle saving Mod Podge that I use to seal all of my puzzles. So we've got that taken care of. So you've got your scissors, your Mod Podge, your brushes. Now these are the paints that I used for painting over. A couple of different brands. I used predominantly most of this, and then I added this to it to make it a little bit darker because I didn't want it quite so light. This brand, Craftsmart multi-surface chalk acrylic paint, covers really, really well. I didn't realize it was a chalk paint until just now, but I must have needed it because if I had it, I needed it for something else. But the chalk paint covered really, really well. I only had to do a few coats. Had I just used an acrylic paint, I probably would have had to have done several more coats. But alright, so let's get started. I'm going to start with the base. Did I go over everything? Checklist in my head. Yes. Okay. So I'm using my laptop because I don't want my phone to be busy. So I'm going to have to hold up. I guess I'm telling myself this because you already see that I'm holding up. Let's try and see if we can get the laptop down. Oh, that's a good. I mean, I can't see the glare. Hopefully you can. And maybe we won't post this video. Let's pull it back up. I definitely like my laptop better because you can't see specifically all the wrinkles on my 50-year-old face. But anyway, that's about me, and today this is about Project In You. So I'm not necessarily sure if you need to shake this product up, but obviously I'm going to shake it. Now, I'm just going to pour it on and take my brush and smooth it. You need a nice even layer. And I'm going to start where the seam of the original paper that covered this started. And I just like to do a section at a time because I've noticed in past projects that if I glue the whole section down, let's do it so that you can see it. This is going to be awkward, but hey, maybe it'll be fun too. I did try and cut these as exact as possible. And it's pretty tacky, but you can lift it and get it all in the right position, zhuzh it, as Carson Creasy would say. And there are tricks to get those edges if it spills over. Okay, so maybe I needed to have my tripod. Yeah, this is not working. Alright, well, this was a good idea. It just was not planned out very well. It's been a rough time in my world the last couple of weeks, this last week specifically. So I've talked about how I do my crafts and stuff to ease my troubled mind and help my anxiety. But when the depression that sometimes goes along with those things rears up its ugly head, it's a lot harder to use the craft to ease. Okay, so it looks like if this is much like doing wallpaper. If you've ever had to do wallpaper, which if you haven't, don't. It's much like the same. You're putting down your paste first, and then you have to carefully lay down your paper. You can't just slap a whole piece on there and hope that it, I mean, you can if you want to be that way, but it's best to be very, very careful because the neatness will save time later. You want to make sure that it is as smooth as possible, no air bubbles. Now this is a heavier stock paper, so it's easier a little bit than using a thinner paper. It's going to be more sturdy. A thinner paper with decoupage, you have to be really, really careful not to oversaturate the paste because as you're smoothing down, the paper could actually rip and tear. I've had that happen. And the reason why I pre-painted the bowl or this round-shaped box is for the areas that are going to show, like the inside edge of the box. That would have poked out gold, which is fine when you have the lid on. But we're trying to make a decorative showpiece that if you're sitting it on a shelf as storage, it's very pleasant to look at. See how we've gone from just the solid pink to now we have this beautiful paper. And being that spring is upon us and wedding season upon us, and I mean it would be even a lovely packaged for Mother's Day. Something that isn't thrown away after it's opened. Alright, we're going to start with the next piece. So I think that it feels like it's pretty solid down. What I really like about this paper is it's vintage. It looks old. I know you probably can't see that looks like a bubble. That's what I'm talking about as far as making sure that it's nice and smooth down. You have to make sure all the air bubbles underneath the paper are collapsed. Now you can use, which I don't have, so I wasn't prepared enough, like a license, driver's license, an ID, a credit card. This paper can handle something like that, a nice firm edge. Luckily, the camera showed me that big bulge underneath the paper. Yeah, I'll pretend I didn't notice what I just said. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Now, because the papers have this, it's not a straight edge, I'm going to have to overlap. Now I can either overlap with this decoupage, it's completely fine because we're going to be layering papers over top. See, we're just going to go through and do the next panel. Actually, this one isn't overlapping, so because it was the wrong side, I had it upside down. Yep. Okay. So there's going to be a sort of a triangle overlap. And what I'm going to try and do is not glue that part down, and then I can go back and cut it. So let's just apply glue where we need the paper to be. And not overlap it on that corner. I like to be generous with it, but not so generous that it's going to be sloppy. Alright, I should be playing some really festive music for when I'm not talking. I haven't posted a video. I've been trying to post an edit of the Sweetheart Valentine's Day Sweetheart Bohemian Flower Crown. I didn't have an editing program at the time, and the video didn't take in one take. So I posted, if you've watched any of my videos, you see there's probably about 7 videos on that one project. And I finally learned how to use Windows Movie Maker, and then actually paid for the full version because I didn't want the watermark to show on my videos. How unprofessional would that look? And it wasn't expensive. It just, right now, it's any added extra cost wasn't planned for. But okay, so I've got the next layer of Mod Podge down. Making sure it's lining up on the edges. And then again, because we painted the box, what do you call a round box? Is it still a box? Because we painted it, any little extra edge that does show through will coordinate with the whole theme and will look nice and neater, and won't look quite as tacky having this gold color show through when there's no gold whatsoever in any of this. I'm going to turn this because I think that's a better, getting less of the glare. Let's go on a journey together. Take your Dramamine. Sometimes when Studio Drew does a video, Dramamine is required. Well, I can't do it that way, because then... Alright, but you see all this beautiful natural light coming in? That's... Alright, we're just gonna go forward. There's too much there, so... But... When I do my videos, I think about how I'm dressed from here up. I never think about the sweatpants that I'm wearing. Let's see if that jerks it up a little bit more. Alright. I didn't have a whole lot of time to shoot this video, so... Okay. That didn't work harder. Bear with me. I'll edit this part out if I can. There! Alright, so we now know that this time of the day the blind should be tilted up. All right, so better. You can't really see from your camera angle, from my camera angle, but this flap here is going to get cut off, and when we seal this, the Mod Podge will soften the paper, and we can get a nice flush seal. And then I also cut out a piece for the bottom because I couldn't get this paper tag off. I didn't want to wet it because the box itself is a coated cardboard. So I'm getting ahead of myself, but I had one extra sheet paper of the pink for the top. So we're going to, that'll probably be the last thing I do, is make sure that the bottom is covered. Because you don't want to give this as a gift and have that being shown, and I didn't want to paint over it and leave it raw because you'd still be able to see. So, alright, so back to the project. We have this much to go of the second panel, and then we'll have to custom cut the third panel because it's not as much area left to cover with the two. Now I could have cut all three panels the same exact size, but that actually would have been smart. But we didn't go there. So now you know that if you are a planner, and usually I am a planner in some ways, you could measure the circumference of the package and then divide it by 3 and cut all 3 of your pieces to be exactly the same width. And once you go over this with the sealer and soften the paper, if there's any leftover air bubbles, you will be able to squeegee it out from underneath, just like that, and soften the paper and get it flush and stiff. So I'm using my hands, but like I said, you can use something that has a stiff edge to it and just gently roll it over the paper, because sometimes it's an air bubble and sometimes it's a pocket of Mod Podge underneath. Alright, so we're left with that much of a space. So that's what we have to cover now. And keep an eye on the time. It is now 10 o'clock, so I have roughly an hour to finish this up. That should be doable because I don't really want the video to be that long. I want to keep my viewers interested and not bore them. I am up to 28 subscribers, so hello to all 28 of you, and hello to future subscribers. If you are having fun laughing at my random unpreparedness, that's cause enough to hit the subscribe button and the like button, because that'll be motivation for me to come up with better ideas to keep you guys interested and to teach you. But as I speak in a lot of my videos, I talk about my anxious mind, my busy mind, and my depression. And the crafting does help keep my my mind at ease. It keeps me being creative, and I think that's imperative to a person's well-being. Is and a healthy mind is creativity. And creativity isn't always artistic. There are creative thinkers that are problem solvers, people that can take a situation and come up with a creative solution to fix a problem. So, like, computer programmers are creative, and mathematicians are creative. So being creative isn't necessarily always about art, but in my world, it is. Since I'm a hairdresser. Now this third panel, we're going to do the same as the last panel because it's not going to line up. There's going to be that triangle. So I didn't put any glue on the area that's going to overlap because I want to cut that piece off. So I'm just, let's see if I can do this left-handed. You see I cut the curve in the bottom, in the top of the piece so that I could just go ahead. Alright, since I'm doing it backwards, it's not working for me, so. I'm just going to lay it where the corner is flush. Try and line up the top, and then move down to the bottom. Oh, there. And here's the flap that we're going to cut off. But if we've done this right, lift up, because it laid itself down and I wasn't ready. As long as you work quickly, this glue is very forgiving. And when I have to go back, now that this has had time to sit and the paper is softening, you can see where it's going to need to be. So it's not necessarily as quick of a project as I'd. Let's try and do a neat cut. I am going to cover these seams. So for the sake of time, we're just going to go with it. But an exacto knife would probably be really more advisable. But yeah, but the Mod Podge is a sealer, so, and the best tools in the world are the ones that God gave us. Busy hands, peaceful mind. That's my mantra. Anyway, so, alright, we're going to go over to this side. This is where we left off. I'm going to cut it so that it just hopefully lines up nice and perfect. Put a little bit of Mod Podge down over top of the seam. And what you'll find too, like, because I know this paper looks very matte, and I want this bowl to be a little bit more decorative than just matte, when we go to seal it with the satin, that'll put a soft sheen to it, so it won't look just like old paper. Alright, we've got one more. Apply a little bit of Mod Podge. Use your fingers. Get it into the paper really well, into that seam really well, and then squeegee the rest of it off. Got a little clump of something there, little fiber. Alright, so we have now got this pink box covered with the paper. I will probably do a follow-up video and then use my Windows Movie Maker to put it together. But there we have the first part of this project done. Now I'll show you. I'm all sticky. I've taken the same paper. Just lost a. And I very carefully cut out the flowers. Looks like I'm getting more glare again. Let's just try and shut this light off and see. That might be better. This is the back of the paper. I'll show you. I very carefully cut out some of the flowers from the side panels because we are going to decoupage them onto this project in different areas. Now I could very easily, if it was the same width as the seam, I could take these and cover the seam, but unfortunately the seam is much longer than the cutouts. So what I've done instead is, in this pack of paper, there are cards. This one says happiness blooms from within, and I cut out the attached rows to it so that somewhere we can add that. And then there's this gardening notepad. I don't know what's going on with the lighting. Now all of these were on one sheet of paper inside this pack of paper. And then we just cut them into the size cards. I'm not going to go through all of these, but we just like coloring, I cut out along the edges. They are all pre-prepared and ready for you to cut and use. So, like this one here is very pretty. It's got the dark pink roses on it. You can take the edge that we've covered. There's the seam. We can very easily just upright like that, but that's not very interesting. So what I thought I could do is do that. So the next part of the video, when I get the top done, is we're going to consider how we're going to use all of these little cutouts. And that'll be a perfect timing because that's when we'll be putting the sealant over this layer anyway. So it'll be two steps in one. We're going to coat this with the same Mod Podge to seal it and work out any more of the bubbles, and then before that dries, we'll overlay the next layer of paper, which will be those cutouts. Next thing we need, you know what, let's go ahead and do the bottom, because like I said, this is a time sensitive video because I don't want this video to be too long. I'm going to put a nice even layer of Mod Podge down on the bottom. Anyway, so talking about my mood this last week, usually I'm more organized, more capable of handling things thrown at me, but I started a part-time job at a craft store, and I wanted this part-time job back in during the holidays, and no matter what I did, I could not get them to call me for the job. Well, now the holidays are over, it is in February, and they called me for a permanent part-time position. I wasn't prepared, and so my whole world is topsy-turvy right now. Okay, so I know that I said before that you don't want to put the whole layer down, but that was when you're dealing with something long and narrow. This was a small enough space, and I had it cut pretty exact to the bottom of the base. So I coated the whole entire bottom with a thin layer. Now I want to go through and make sure that it seals down really nice. I would put you on pause while I do this, but I've learned in the past doing that leaves all sorts of areas. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's how I ended up with 7 videos instead of 1 with the Valentine's Day Sweetheart. So we're just plowing through. And with the movie editor, I can edit some stuff, but I haven't learned how to edit in the middle of a clip. Like this, okay, I'm being really chatty here, and I need to edit that out. I haven't learned that yet, so unfortunately, you're stuck with my unorganized, overthinking chit-chat. I mean, not stuck with it. I mean, hopefully you're interested in what I'm doing. I'm going through the edges that don't seem to have enough Mod Podge, and I'm squeegeeing it in and around the edges because we want that nice flush seam. And I'm probably bouncing the laptop around, so I apologize about that. This YouTube video thing for me is a therapy. And my confidence when I started this YouTube thing went really, really high because I thought, you know, the possibility of me actually helping somebody else who suffers from overthinking, anxious mind, depression at a level that mirrors mine, I can, one, let you know that you're not alone, because there's still so many people out there that don't realize that there's other people that suffer from the same issues. And then there are people who don't know what to do with it, don't know how to handle it, don't know how to recognize what's going on. So I thought that instead of just doing this alone in a craft room as my therapy, maybe I could do it on video, not be so completely alone, because my social anxiety puts me in a position where I spend entirely way too much time alone. So I'm not alone now. I'm with at least 28 of you, and I appreciate that so much. Okay, so now we have the bottom on. You can see the white around the edges. That's the Mod Podge. It will dry clear. And then already it's starting to look like a very beautiful hat box instead of a throwaway cardboard packaging from a chocolate company. I will say this: the reason I saved the container is not necessarily because it was from the chocolate company, but it was a very well made, meant to be repurposed. You could tell that, at least I would think you could tell that that box was not designed to be thrown away again. So we have the top, same as the bottom. I tried to get the tabs from sealing it off, and I couldn't, same as the bottom, so we're going right over it. So I worked the salon today and all week, and it's a beautiful thing because my little slow period seems to be over, and so I'm busy the next several weeks, and that makes me very, very happy because when I'm not busy at work, it lends too much time up here to start. So obviously, busy hands, peaceful mind. So if I'm busy in my salon, my hands are obviously busy, and my clients are my social. They're my social life. I don't see people outside of work, so if I'm busy, then I have my social fix, and I'm making money, and my hands are busy. Okay, I did not put a layer all the way through the bottom, all the way across the top, because I wanted to. I do contradict myself often. I'm a professional hypocrite too, but I think that it's human nature to be slightly hypocritical. You have standards. We have things that guidelines that we all want to live by and abide by, but life gets in the way a lot of the times. And so sometimes you can't necessarily, I'm not talking about religion and anything serious like morality or whatnot. I'm just talking about, say, like, there are certain companies I don't support because of the things that they support. But one of those companies is a craft store, and sometimes I feel I've exhausted my effort searching for something at all the other craft stores, and I end up going to that craft store. So that's what I mean about being a professional hypocrite. I try to not support companies that wouldn't support me. I don't want to mention names, or, there's a certain fast food restaurant that aren't open on Sundays that I won't eat at. You can figure that out on your own. Specific craft store also not open on Sundays. Alright, so as you probably could tell, I went ahead and did the last part of the top while I was talking about my. So there's the lid. It's a nice sort of Moroccan variegated print. Now, if this was going to be all I do to the top, I might have wanted to center the pattern, but I knew that I was going to layer the paper, so I wasn't really as concerned. In fact, I did sort of eyeball it and think that I had it somewhat centered, but obviously I didn't do that good of a job. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the bottom, and I'm going to take the brush and I am going to get some of that Mod Podge up under that edge, and then take my fingers and squeegee it. We just want it to be nice and flush, so when I put the border, it'll all line up nice and neat. Now, when you watch this video as a whole, you'll probably see that I am wearing a different shirt in the second half because I'm running out of time. I just wanted to take advantage of this natural light, and I really do enjoy my YouTube channel. I enjoy all the people that I follow and the ideas and inspiration that they give me, and I look forward to hearing, hopefully, when my channel gets to a level of more followers. So far, 28 of you aren't necessarily watching my videos from start to finish. Yes, I can tell. There are, I have a dashboard through YouTube that tells me how many people subscribe, how many people watch my videos, how many people watch the whole video. It gives me a ratio or a percentage of watch times, and it's not just me looking at that, because Google looks at that too. If I ever want to become a professional full-time YouTuber, I have to find ways to get y'all to watch the video from start to finish. So, and there are lots of YouTubers out there that are showing other YouTubes how to do that. But for now, this is a hobby that makes me feel good. I'm not anticipating doing this full time, but it's possible. So you can see it looks pretty flush. It looks pretty neat. I'm going to go back to this section, and then we're going to wrap up for the day. I can tell that there's some rippling, so we're going to press a little bit more before it's completely dry. You'll notice, because we're layering paper, that the package will fit a little bit snugger, but snugger? That's a cute word. Not finished, but in a good, we got a good portion of it done. So well, it is snugger. We need to make sure that it doesn't dry together. Alright, so if you want to like the video because you're learning something, and you hope to inspire me as I inspire you, like the video, hit the subscribe, and then hit the little bell. I think it's over here. And it will alert you every time I post a new video. I am trying to post new content once a week, but working 2 jobs and dealing with natural light, sometimes it's hard. So this is Studio Drew. Jack of all trades. Hoping to give you a little insight into the mind of an anxious, depressed, but inspired professional hairdresser and part-time crafter. So thank you so much, and stay tuned, because the next part of this, we're going to do the edges and the overlays of all of the cutouts that we showed you. So we're not done yet. Stay tuned. See ya. Good morning from Studio Drew, where we left off last time, decoupaging this Godiva chocolate cardboard box. Now, if you watch the first part of this video, I previously painted the box because it was a different color, gold and brown, and we have applied the paper around the outer edge of the box and around the bottom and the top of the box. So today we are going to do the edge and we are going to do the overlays. Same story as the last time. I have to work at 12 and it is, don't go by that clock because I never changed it from daylight savings time, so it's an hour off. It is 9:30 almost, so I have an hour. So let's just get started. Now, we need our decoupage. Once again, I have no idea whether it's necessary to shake it. I should probably read the instructions. It does not say to shake it, but it couldn't hurt, really. Now, I kind of examined the progress that I made earlier. The only thing that I noticed is that when I was adding the decoupage under the edges and rubbing, I rubbed a little bit of the color off of the paper. Now, I don't really think that that is a problem, but if I don't like it when I'm finished, I can take a little bit of the paint that I used for this and just sort of like dry brush it in to cover some of the light color of the paper that's showing through. So again, I don't think it's a problem. It's right in this area here. You can see that. You can see it really well on camera. That just took, or maybe that's glare. I don't know, but it is not a problem. It's something that we can adjust. Another thing is some of the edges of the paper go past the edge of the top of the box. And what we'll do with that is take an exacto knife and very gently shave that off so that it's nice and flush. But we'll put this aside. We have my pre-cut strips of paper that match the top, and we're just going to get started. In light of the issue of the rubbing the pigment of the paper off, I would say go a little less generous with the decoupage because it softened the paper too much, and then be less generous with the pressure of your hands when you apply it. I'm starting where there already is a seam on the box. Remember, once this is applied and dried, you're going to go back over it with the decoupage and seal it. That'll give it a nice satin finish, or whatever finish that you decide you want for your project. If you remember, we did talk about matte, satin, gloss, and antique. I kind of think, since this paper looks antique, that maybe going over it with the antique finish might be nice. But that's one of those decisions that will happen at the moment. You can see this really is a fun way to repurpose something. Or you can even buy already pre-made paper mache hat boxes and different size containers with lids that you can do this with too. If you don't happen to have an already saved cardboard box. Now I've seen people just paint a box like this and put a little note card holder on the side and stick it on a shelf in their office, and that's fine because you can make every box you save and use for storage cohesive. You can have all different shaped boxes and have them the same color and each have the same note card holder. Me personally, I don't get the opportunity to save too many boxes. As I previously stated, my roommate really likes to throw things away. Okay, so that already started to absorb the glue, so needed to work a little faster, maybe talk a little bit less. But if you've watched any of my videos, you know me talking less is a challenge. Because my only really social outlet is my clientele in the salon. My roommate doesn't like to talk. Doing YouTube is great because I can talk to myself and pretend I'm talking to 28 people. I'm still at 28 people, I checked, 28 subscribers. I did talk to one of my clients last night who's a very creative person who sort of got me started with the floral crowns last night, and she gave me lots of compliments on my channel, so I feel like if I reach out and touch one person, I feel I'm successful, and she gave me lots of great feedback and she's a creative person, so anybody that's going to give me feedback, let's see if we got it. One panel down already. I'm definitely going to take notice of a creative person giving me good positive feedback, but any positive feedback is wonderful. Any feedback period is wonderful. Let me know how I'm doing. Maybe you can tell me I say too much, or roll my eyes too much, or pretty much there's probably nothing that you could say negative to me that I don't already know, because I am my worst critic, as most of us are. But I think that it's very good to be aware of your strengths and your weaknesses, your talents and your skills. Being self-aware is probably one of the smartest I don't know smartest, but it's definitely an advantage in life to be self-aware of both your strengths and weaknesses. And I do think that I am aware of most. As a hairdresser, I am strongest in color because it is the most, I think, the most creative aspect of my job. The easiest way to show a transformation, especially if you have a client, if you're a client who doesn't want to cut your hair, but you're just so bored at what you see in the mirror, the answer I'm going to come to right away is let's change your hair color. So if you've been a blonde for the last 10 years and you love your long hair and you don't want to cut it, let's go red. Let's do some auburn. Let's put a strawberry blonde low light in it. Or I have one client who has naturally gray hair, and she's grown it out and she's been very, very comfortable with it, but she was at a impasse where she wanted change. So I'm like, well, since you took all the time to grow out your natural color to this beautiful gray, let's not get rid of it, but what if we low-lighted it? What if we just put some of your natural color back through it, underneath, and that'll give you something different to look at. It'll create depth. That's the kind of hairdresser you want to have, is somebody who can look at you objectively and see possible change that maybe you may not have thought of. But anyway, we're not talking about hair right now. We're talking about decoupage, the art of gluing decorative paper on any surface. As I mentioned earlier, you can do this on wood, glass, other paper products, metal. I would be super cautious over the surface that you do decide to do it on. Sometimes I think glass, I've never tried it, so I guess I shouldn't knock it till I try it, but you don't want to make something that's breakable not look breakable by layering too much paper over it. That's just the thought in my mind. I'm just kind of going over this because there's ripples, and again, we want to create a nice flat surface. I'm not using like a credit card or an ID or an old. That could be done, but as I learned yesterday, even with just the pressure of my finger, too much pressure could jeopardize the paper. Alright, so we're left with this little panel, just the same as the base that we did. So, but luckily with this, it's just a straight cut and not the angled cut. I'm excited to get this video done because over the weekend I can edit it together and I can have it for you guys probably by Monday. It took me, I would say, probably 2 weeks to get my last video posted because it was an edit of all of the Valentine's Day Sweetheart Bohemian Flower Crown, all the clips that I had posted individually because I didn't have Windows Movie Maker and couldn't find an editing app for my phone that would allow me to do all the things I wanted to do. So I broke down, purchased Windows Movie Maker. You see, I'm just lining it up. I got a nice flush seam there. You could barely see it. And then we'll cover that in a few minutes. Once we get this done, I am going to go back to the base and start the overlays. Oh, that's going to be a little too generous. I think. I'll just leave the excess on the brush. Now I could have measured this before gluing it down, but it would have had to have been a very exact measurement in order to get it right. This way I could just glue it down. And then cut it right where it meets. I don't know what's going on with the inside. I may have to paper that or repaint it. Alright. This particular piece of panel is choosing to be difficult. Probably because the paper, probably because the Mod Podge was too thick. I have had my coffee, but it is pretty early. But I've had beautiful sun, I noticed this morning. So I thought, let's get this done. Now there's some edges here that will probably have to be shaved off. Anyway, so I'm rambling because it is morning and it was my roommate is at the gym, so it's just me and the poodle. And again, there's sunlight and I have an hour. So let's finish this video. That's kind of what my life is going to be like, working 2 jobs, managing a YouTube channel with a poodle and a roommate. It's going to be get it done when you can get it done. And if it's just an hour, alright, so there's that seam and that seam there. Just going to go with the excess that I have left on here, just like we did yesterday, and maybe if we can get these areas that are a little too long to just kind of bend down and flush with the paper, we won't have to trim them off. That's the beauty of working with paper, is it is easily manipulated. If you have enough knowledge to do so. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to trim them down. But we'll come to that when the time is right. And right now that's not, no, because we have more to do. Alright. So the top, I can leave plain like that because we now have a beautiful textured variegated pattern paper. So it's pretty enough on its own. But are we going to stop there? No. Why would we? When we have so much more to work with. So much more to play with as far as our options. I'm just looking at the bubbles, checking for unsightly bulges underneath the paper, which means that there is air pockets or pockets of Mod Podge. This is a really nice sturdy paper box, so I really don't think that this technique would work over just a normal soft cardboard box. You could try it. I think it'd be more work. With less reward than to have a box like this. But back in the day when I was a performer, I used to watch the sales and I would buy the hat boxes, the round hat boxes and the rectangle shoe boxes already decorated in a theme. I would get them at like Tuesday Morning, Michael's, very rarely other stores. Okay, so I have all these things, and I'm going to use these note cards because there's nothing really on them. So if the lid lays over the top part, you still see, and you can decorate or handwrite what you want on these to hide the seams on the base. And I have this one, this light pink one, green one, and I have this green one too. So we'll have to pick 3 because I think I only have 3 seams. 1, 2, 3 seams. But we'll probably need 4 because these, the last panel that we did was a shorter panel. So we might want to offset the difference in the width between them by putting another one in. We'll see as we go. I've already sort of pre-folded this one, but okay, so I am not going to do a straight up seam hide because I think that's not very interesting. So what we're going to do is we're just going to tilt them as if they were haphazardly attached. I do want to try and keep my reputation wholesome by not swearing. There are some people that I watch and they're absolutely brilliant, not on YouTube but on Instagram. Talk like a trucker, but the content of what they present is good, and I honestly am not a prude. I don't mind swear words. Oh, almost had it upside down. Okay, so I'm placing one corner at the top of the seam and another corner at the bottom of the seam. And then we're just going to press it down. I applied the decoupage, the Mod Podge to the underneath of this because I didn't want to get sloppy and just slather it on the base of the box. I don't want this to be folded down. I probably should if I'm making it look like a label. But I'd rather not, so I cut off the little overlapping top. Now the seam obviously is visible through. I've got lots of sunlight coming in. I don't know if you can see that right down there. But it's more of a shadow of the seam rather than an obvious visual seam. So I'm good with that. We're going to move forward. Now, when I said earlier that I was going to seal the whole top and then put the overlays on, but that in hindsight would have been really, really messy to have the whole side of this wet and tacky. So we're only going to do that. We're going to seal both layers together all at the same time. And I'll probably come back to that. So that'll probably be another session, but I will edit them all together so that we don't have the chaos as a viewer to have to watch three short videos on the same project. I just put some more Mod Podge under the edge of that after I cut it because it seemed to be loose. And that's all I'm doing around the edges, is making sure that there's enough Mod Podge underneath the edges and over top, and I'm gently rubbing so I don't remove the top layer of paper, which will remove the color. But again, this is an antique looking project, so if there is some wear on paper, it would probably fit right in. So there, that seam is covered. And the next seam is right next to it here, and I'm going to go the opposite direction as that one because I want it to look whimsical, and that one has a lot of green in it, so we're going to do a pink garden note. Like that. So get a nice coating of the Mod Podge underneath this one. Make sure the edges have enough this time. And we're going to go through and do the same thing that we just did. Now to make sure that I get my hands nice and clean before I go into work today, because I am really busy. Don't want to have Mod Podge all over my hands. Placing the top corner and the bottom corner along the edge, and then fanning out. I think that's going to be really cute. I don't know who's the recipient of this, because this does not fit in the decor of my home studio or my studio at work, my salon. And I don't think it's something that I will list on my Etsy store. So, but I wanted to keep with the upcoming season of spring, bridal. It's wedding season soon, or the start of wedding season, start of spring, which, I mean, I live in Florida. It's been spring most winter. We have had some cold weather, which I actually appreciate. When you live in this tropical environment where it is summer 3/4 of the year, getting a little bit of spring and winter weather is a blessing. I just did the same thing that I did with the last overlay. I went over the edge. This particular card, the color is coming off really, really easy. So I'm just going to go lightly. But it actually kind of looks really cool, so I'm not going to, just like I said a few minutes ago, I'm okay with this looking antique-ish because of the paper itself. So we have that seam is a little more concealed, so maybe if I was more careful cutting that one out, it probably would have been a little less visible underneath. The next seam is all the way there. So there might be room to do 5 of these instead of 3. But let's do the third one and we need to move on. Let's check the time. It is now going on 10 o'clock, so I'm doing pretty good. I'm sure if I talked a lot less, my videos would be a lot shorter, but they're my videos. I'm going to use the solid green card for the last one. Whoa, that's a lot of Mod Podge. So I hope that if you're watching this, you get inspired to take that, go into your recycling pile and find a really nice box. That is, if you are a green enough person to have a recycling pile. I would like to have more of one. I hide things in my home studio so they don't get thrown away. in different states. In Pennsylvania, it just seemed a little bit more, a little easier on the residents of the state to recycle. And I think that it's probably easier for people who have a home to recycle than it is for people who like rent in an apartment complex. Or that's just my way of, I don't know, explaining away my guilt that I don't recycle a lot more. I don't know. But anyway, hopefully this inspires you to repurpose. It was really hard Valentine's Day not to save the heart-shaped chocolate box that, again, the roommate got this year for his birthday, which is on Valentine's Day, because one, it was a sturdy box like this, but I did let it go because it was already decorated, and it being a heart shaped, it would be very, I just saw a limit to the possibilities, not unlimited possibilities. So I didn't stake claim to it. I let it go. Sometimes you just gotta be Elsa and let it go. Big Disney fan. There goes the... Okay, so see, we've got that one there, that one there, that one there. So this could be the front if you actually liked the box, if you like the overlays, or that could be the front with just a single one, and once you're sealed, you could take probably a Sharpie or a paint marker and write real pretty over that, anything that you want. That one is actually kind of like a catalog card, or the other one is just like a notepad. Alright, let's move back to the top, let that dry. The overlays that I'm going to do on this are the note cards. I do have all of these that I previously cut, and I may overlay them over top of the note cards, but I have this note card. I really like these because there's so much color, and that has purple on it, which isn't anywhere present in this color scheme, so we may skip over that one. This one's really, really pretty. Okay, so I did have these all laid out beforehand. So I am just going to, like I did before, I just want them to be cattywampus on the lid. And then we have all of these that we can just maybe fill in the gaps. I did think about maybe trying to fold them, and that's still something I may do, because as long as you're gentle with the paper and with the glue, you could do that. But since time is an issue, I'm going to put 4 underneath, and then I'm going to take the top one, which is the notepad, and put it over top in the center. So again, you can write with a paint marker. And there's no science to this. I want it to look like a busy floral person just slapped these on and threw it in the flower shed. I don't want to overthink it, I guess is what I'm saying. There's one. So I would like to hear in comments below. I don't get very many likes and I don't get very many comments, but I also only have 28 subscribers. And I know you all are clicking on the video, and then some of you are just clicking right back off because, as I mentioned earlier, Google and YouTube makes it very easy for you to track your progress by showing you your watch cycles, or watch times, I guess, is what it's called. And Google pays attention to that too. So, like, say if my goal was to become a full-time influencer, full-time YouTuber, things like watch time is very, very important, because Google's not going to pay attention to me. They're not going to take me serious or my content if they feel my content isn't capturing the attention or the full attention of my viewers. So here's the next one. I'm just going to place this one. I want them here. I'm really loving how this is looking. Now, I don't know, maybe if you really like this project and expect it, and express an interest in it, maybe leave it in the comments, and maybe I'll send you this project. As I said, I don't have a recipient, and I really don't think it's something that I want to list in my Etsy store. Show me you're watching. Like the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. There are lots of things to come. It's just coordinating the time, the materials. I want to do a fairy house. My fairy houses are, this is where I'm going to use the brush. My fairy houses are a little time consuming because I use a store-bought and homemade paper mache clay. So, and I build the structure myself underneath because I tried using recycled materials like Creative Mom. She's a genius with what she does. Didn't work for me because I had too much of a planned end result, I guess you could say. Maybe I want something a little different. No, I want to use the note card. Maybe we can throw off the balance and use the purple. Yeah, let's use the purple. Alright, we're almost finished with what I'm going to do today, and then hopefully over the weekend I'll be able to come back and wrap this video up with all the finishing touches. Oops, upside down. take the brush. I forgot that I did have this laying around, and especially for this, it's much easier than using my hand, and it's a little easier on the paper. Anywhere you turn it, it's right side up. And I think there needs to be something in this corner, but I think 4 is fine. Alright, so I think that's just I'm gonna wrap this up for today. So for now, we have our decoupage, decorated, repurposed chocolate box. So I will see you soon, where we'll wrap up all the final detouches, because apparently I make up my own words. Details, finishing touches. Same, when my mind is so busy, the words want to come out all at the same time, and so I mean, hey, I don't mind it. Detouches, new word. Anyway, so what we'll finish up with is making sure all of the edges are trimmed down and sealed. Decide whether we're going to use all of these precious little cutouts from the original background fabric or paper, and then we'll sign up and tell you what's coming up next. So we'll see you soon. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned. And it's not a touch screen. How many times have I done that? It's not a touch screen. But okay, bye. Okay, so we're going to wrap this project up. Let me tell you what I've done off camera. I've taken these note cards that we applied over the seams, and I evenly distributed them in between the gaps in the same fashion as before. The new ones aren't quite as tilted. I thought that looked really nice with the cattywampus kind of lazy daisy effect that I went for with the first ones. I have also sealed the entire outside with the Mod Podge, and then I trimmed the excess because my measurements weren't exact. Now I'm going to just kind of do a quick show and tell on how to do that. You want an exacto knife, you want the blade to be sharp, and you want the paper to be really dry. Because it will tear if the dull is dry, or even if it's sharp, if you're pulling too much pressure on it, it could tear. So sharp blade exacto knife. I love this one because it's very comfortable to hold. I just went down, laid it on the edge, sometimes I tilted it a little bit if it was necessary, and I just trimmed off the excess. Now when I was looking at it yesterday, there was a little piece over here, so let's just see if we can get that. When I was done with that, and I was secure that that's all I needed to do, I mixed up a small batch of the paint color, and I took my brush and just gently laid the brush over the edge, covering the edge of the white paper, so it looks like a nice clean edge. That was done. Here's the top, all done, all bright and beautiful. I took these 4 cards, all cut out from the paper pad that I showed you earlier, and I laid them as if they just sort of fell onto the lid. the backs facing, the bottoms facing the center, and the tops facing the outer edge. Now, remember there was three seams. There's really nothing up there I'm looking at. I'm just trying to find my words, and apparently that's where I think they're going to be, is up there. It's all good. Anyway, so I took the little cutouts that I showed you earlier, and I used them to cover the seam. First, I laid a layer of Mod Podge. I laid the overlay down, pressed it, just as we did with the bottom. And then when I was good with that placement, I then folded it very gently and neatly over with a layer of Mod Podge underneath that section as well. And then when I was sure that that's where I wanted it, then I covered it with another layer of Mod Podge and gently sealed it down. Excuse me. Again, just like the base, what I just told you, I only had 3 seams, and 2 of the seams were rather close together, so I spaced out in between the seams more of the little rose patches. So there is our lid. Only thing left to do after that was seal with a layer of Mod Podge over top. And you can see, I'm pretty sure you can see the nice satin sheen to it. It's not super glossy, and it's not flat like the surface of the paper when it started. So very nice, very, very happy with this. So the project pretty much is complete. I may want to go over it with another layer of Mod Podge, but here is our Victorian Garden repurposed chocolate box. I am actually very, very happy with it. You can see right here, I did allow the corner of this card to lay over. I didn't see any harm in it until, looking at it just now. But also, in the area of the top lid that I had mentioned where the color had come off because I rubbed it too hard, I learned that the Mod Podge was already getting tacky, and by rubbing my finger over it at that stage, it caused the top layer of the paper to come off. But you can't see, because what did Studio Drew do? I mixed up some paint and just sort of dabbed it in the areas where the paper had come off, or at least the color of the paper, and just dabbed it until it blended. I don't know about you, but I can't see any exposed white paper anywhere. So, to wrap this up, this was a fun project. When I started, I knew that I needed, wanted to do a video and needed a subject, and I spent like an hour at my local craft store looking for inspiration when I had the inspiration at home all the time. I didn't purchase the container. I already had all of the paper, the paint, the Mod Podge, the brushes, everything I needed I already had. I didn't spend a dime on this project. So I'm very pleased with it. However, I have no use for it. Now that it's all pretty and decorated, it doesn't fit the decor of my salon, my home studio, or anywhere in my apartment. So I come up with an idea. If you like this video, pay attention, like the video, subscribe or already subscribing, and leave a comment on how much you enjoyed learning to decoupage, learning to upcycle and reuse cardboard containers, or if you want to add a positive comment about the channel itself or previous video. you also have to mention that you would like to receive this Victorian garden container. I don't know what to call it. It's too small for a hat box. It's not square, so it's not really a box. So let's call it a container. So anyway, if you would like to receive this, I will draw one person obviously, from the comments, and I will contact you and try to send you this package. And it's the first time I ever did anything like this, but oftentimes I do a project just because I want to learn how to do it, and not because I have an actual purpose for it or a use. So, recapping, like, subscribe, hit the little bell button if you want to find out when I've posted new content, and comment on either this video and the container, or comment on a past video or the channel overall in a positive manner, and let's see how this goes. So thank you for watching Studio Drew, Jack of all trades, and I hope you enjoyed my decoupage tutorial, or I guess it was a tutorial. I did show you how to do it. Anyway, I enjoy doing YouTube, and it has been a great pleasure for me to be able to express myself, and I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you learn something, and hope that you are inspired by it. Now go out and create something. Remember, busy hands, peaceful mind. This is Studio Drew, signing out. I can't wait for you guys to watch this, and I'm going to be looking for all your comments when I find